Back when I was 11 years old, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I was a big basketball fan thanks to my dad, and so my passion became basketball. And I was very fortunate that I had a Leave It to Beaver childhood. In 1972, a gentleman came to Baton Rouge by the name of Coach Dale Brown. And the very first summer, right before the season started, Joe Dean had a basketball camp. So Coach Brown happened to come to the camp on a nice summer day, and I ended up getting to meet him. And several things that really stuck in my mind from that point was, you always do your best and you never ever give up. With Coach Brown, got to meet him for the very first time that summer of 1972 and got to hear everything that he'd shared. And so over the last 35 years, all that has stayed with me.
By most people's standards today, I've had a lot of success. Although there was those times where I had, where I couldn't pay my bills and had to deal with different issues. And one of the key things that kept resonating with me was never give up. You can do it. Do whatever it takes. And those were key words that I, as a small 11-year-old boy, that I heard from Coach Dale Brown. And when I signed up on Path Connect, one of the first things that I did is I put on, who had inspired me, who had had a lot to do with who I became today. And Coach Dale Brown was obviously one of those people. And I put on Path Connect that, he had been one of those people. I also put on there that I wanted to reconnect with Coach Dale Brown. And so Coach Dale Brown he'd had a brand new website created for himself, and he was doing some research and doing some Google searches, and he came across an article which he clicked on, and he's like, what's this? So he clicks on that, and all of a sudden he goes to my Path Connect profile. And then he's reading about this Path Connect profile, and he's like, well, I know these guys. Well, who is this? And so he contacted Path Connect, and then Adam forwarded on the message to me, and then we reconnected and ended up talking on the phone together for over an hour and catching up from the time I left Baton Rouge to the present day. Coach had invited me down to Baton Rouge and spent some time with him, and he said, I'll take you to lunch and I got some memorabilia for you. So I said, well, Coach, here's the only time that I'm available to come down. Will this work for you? And so it worked out. So we come down to Baton Rouge, and all of this directly is because of my dad. My dad worked at Louisiana State. He was involved with the basketball program, and so I would go to his office and watch practices, and so I got to spend time as a child. So because of his passion for LSU basketball, that's really how this all started. And so I wanted to take my dad to go down there and experience it and meet some of the players that he knew also, and then Coach Brown. And then I took Chrissy along with me also, so she could experience where I grew up. And I'd been talking about it for years, and she just never got the experience. So we went down there, and probably the best way to describe it, we're three kids. My dad was a child, I was a child, and Chrissy was a child, getting to relive my childhood of 30 years ago. And so it was a really awesome experience, and had a lot of fun, and just seeing the different aspects of what had happened over the last 30 years was just, unbelievable. And that's one of the things with Path Connect that's very, awesome, is that you can set these goals and you can experience them, even though there were goals that you set as a kid. So it was just a phenomenal day. So through this whole experience, which has just been a phenomenal roller coaster ride of all of the excitement, and I've heard from my father, my mom, and my brother, and Chrissy, saying, you're acting like a little kid again. And so when Coach calls me, I'm like a little kid. And I'd have to say I am a little kid, because that's what happened to me when I was a little kid. So I'm reliving the experience. So I set another goal. So I set the goals to reconnect with Coach Brown. That happened. I set a goal to reconnect with some of the players that had a lot to do with who I became. I've reconnected with them. And I set one more goal. And that was for Coach Dale Brown to speak at one of our events.